Hey everyone, hello. So I'm going to be honest and let you know that this video, it's honestly a hard one for me to make, but I think it's very, very necessary. So every November, millions of Americans gather around tables filled with turkey, stuffing, and cranberry sauce, celebrating a story we all learned as children. A friendly feast between pilgrims and Native Americans. Two worlds sharing food, friendship, and gratitude. But what if I told you that this warm, familiar tale is only a tiny, tiny fragment of the real story? What if the origins of Thanksgiving are tied not to harmony, but instead to violence, disease, stolen land, and one of the bloodiest conflicts in early American history? So today we're uncovering a darker, more complicated truth, the dark truth behind the origins of Thanksgiving. The traditional story begins in 1620 when the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock. But what we don't often hear is that the land they settled on wasn't empty wilderness. It belonged to the Wampanoag Nation, a powerful confederacy that had lived there for thousands of years. Between 1616 and 1619, just before the Pilgrims arrived, a devastating epidemic, likely brought by European traders, ripped through the Wampanoag communities. Some villages lost up to 90% of their population. So when the Pilgrims arrived, the Wampanoags were weakened, grieving, and facing pressure from rival tribes. Their leader, Massasoit, didn't greet the newcomers out of pure goodwill. He did it out of political necessity. Yes, the 1621 feast did happen, but it wasn't a celebration of unity. It was a diplomatic meeting, a fragile balance formed for survival, one that would soon collapse. The peace, it didn't last. The more English settlers poured into the region, they took more land. They brought more disease. They imposed more laws that did not recognize Native people as equals. By the mid-1600s, relationships had deteriorated into open hostility. But the event that many historians link to the true origin of Thanksgiving celebrations isn't the 1621 feast. It's the Pequot Massacre of 1637. On May 26, 1637, English soldiers surrounded the Pequot village at Mystic, Connecticut. And inside were hundreds of men, women, and children. The colonists set the village on fire. Everyone who tried to escape was shot down or cut down. Contemporary accounts say that over 400 Pequot people were killed in a matter of hours. After the massacre, the Colonel Governor of Massachusetts Bay declared a day of Thanksgiving, not for peace, but to celebrate what they considered a victory. This is one of the earliest references to the formal Thanksgiving in colonial America. Not a shared meal, not fellowship, but a commemoration of mass death. Throughout the 1600s and 1700s, the conflicts followed. Most notably King Philip's War, led by Massasoit's son Metacom. It became one of the deadliest wars per capita ever fought on American soil. By the end, Entire Native communities had been killed, sold into slavery, or forced off their homelands. Yet the Thanksgiving myth that most Americans know today didn't become mainstream until the 19th century, over 200 years after the Pilgrims' arrival. Writers, politicians, and educators reshaped the story into a symbol of unity, innocence, and national origin, carefully omitting the violence that actually defined the early history. It was easier, it was more comforting to imagine a country born in friendship rather than in bloodshed. For many Native people, Thanksgiving is not a celebration. Since 1970, the United American Indians of New England have marked the holiday as a national day of mourning. It's a day of remembrance for stolen lands, broken treaties, and generations of loss. It's a reminder that the story of America includes voices that were silenced and histories that were rewritten. So, where does this leave us? Thanksgiving doesn't have to be erased per se, but it should be understood. It can be a day of gratitude, but also a day of truth, a moment to recognize the native nations who are still here, to honor those who were lost, to learn what really happened, and to acknowledge the full story, not just the comforting version. Because only when we're willing to face the dark truth can we begin to move towards a brighter future. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and keep questioning the stories we all think we know. All right, everyone, take care. Peace.